one of the founders and the CEO of G5. I don't know how good your Swedish is. We just talk about tech valuations coming down and every tech company laying off people. Is G5 laying off people? G5?
We're not. At least we are focused for now on creating new products, and we need everyone we have. In fact, we are hiring some people as we speak. And for now, we see that our business, at least in our revenue generation, is quite healthy.
What's your take on the market turbulence? You're in Silicon Valley, obviously. I'm sure a lot of your friends at the country club or whatever is going through hard times right now.
I really don't know anything about that and the country clubs. But I hear the news, obviously, that this is happening. I think we're all concerned about the economy and the demand going forward. And we have these thoughts as well, but we think that with our products and a free-to-play model, we are actually in a relatively safe place when, if it comes to turbulent times.
And for those of you who don't know G5, obviously, it's the maker of games like Sherlock Holmes and Treasuries of Rome. Jewels of Rome is the latest one on my phone right now for all the history buffs. You're from Russia, active in Silicon Valley. We talked about, of course, the great tragedy that's going on in your country. What's the latest for G5 in terms of staff and markets?
We are back to normal work for some time now. Staff is working full work hours. Everyone is in safety, with the exception of few people who are actually serving on the front lines. It's just a few. I would say we're back in business. We're back to normal, and it really is a normal operation for us. We haven't had any big delays and updates or even new game launches. So we are, I think, very lucky, and lucky is the wrong word, but thanks to the efforts of our team, we didn't really lose any momentum, and I think we're in really good shape.
So you didn't push anything because of the turbulence? It so happened that you had
almost didn't, yeah. And even if something was like new releases were pushed a little bit, that's not critical.
We have a lot of questions from our Twitter audience, which is fun, so a big interest. One of them is a little bit about what we spoke about. You're moving people from offices and opening new offices because of the war. Will this affect your margins when you have to move people from low-income countries to possibly more expensive places to live?
Well, for now, we are focused on opening offices and moving people to locations that are comparable in cost of living and in terms of incomes. And so we don't expect this to be to have any effect really on our profit margins. Setting up new offices is a small additional fixed costs. There are really no big costs associated. We're going to look at renting new offices probably over time when there's more people move to specific location, but we don't really expect this to be any significant change to the margin or to our cost structure.
How about creativity, being able to have a nice environment where you come up with good ideas? Even non-war affected game developers, I'm thinking of Paradox here in Sweden, has talked about the pandemic and distant remote working as a hit on creative environments. How are you doing in that field?
So we had 2 years, more than 2 years, right, of practice with fully remote work. When we went fully remote, we really didn't notice any decrease in productivity or efficiency or creativity for that matter. I think we've gotten really good at working remotely, and just the structure of the company, even before COVID, was quite often that the team members were spread out around the world. And so they would get together on these, the video calls or phone calls to discuss and work through task systems also. Obviously, everyone does that, but I guess we're just doing it quite well. And so for us, this is just normal situation. We just continued to work from home, given that some staff had to move, and we don't really see this as a problem. And having more offices, we don't really care what the person is. Basically, we're ready to work with team members being anywhere.
The big critical question is the notion, I see this on social media forums, the notion that Sherlock Holmes, your big hit, is a couple of years old. So I want to know, is it still attractive? Is it updated in a way that keeps it relevant? And second, have you lost the capacity to create a new hit?
Yeah, well, creating a new hit takes time, right? Sherlock I don't think it's 2 years old now. It's certainly older than 1 year, so 1 year and something. The game's really good. The game's growing. It's very steady grower over time. That's why we're doing this user acquisition boost for 3 months, as we have announced. We're in the middle of that now. I think that it's quite the opposite. Sherlock is a proof that the team is capable of creating this successful new games. It is for us a relatively new game, and it takes a number of attempts to create a game that is that successful, and it proves that we were able to achieve it. But if you look at our overall stream of releases, there will be more successful games and there will be less successful games. You know, some games we would put into soft launch, but then later we would just remove and pull from the store because we don't see the potential. But every once in a while, the goal is to have a game like Sherlock that can really drive the top line.
Is the ratio okay? I believe it's Sherlock, and then it's been 10 launches since, roughly. I don't know if you're, oh no?
Well, roughly 2 years, right? So
Yeah.
5, 6 games, probably 8 or something like that. Could be, yes.
Does it make you nervous that so many games have gone out without being a new Sherlock, or is that okay?
It does somewhat, but I think some of these games performed quite well. We have several games in Jewels of family of games that have launched, I believe, after Sherlock, and they're doing fine. Some other games are not performing, as well. Obviously, this is something that that does make me nervous, because as a game company, you're supposed to release new, great games, but you're also supposed to try new things to find that success, and you only need 1 or 2 successes. But you can make a lot of attempts at success, and that's the big question: how you do it, right? Do you bring games to the worldwide market, or do you do a soft launch and then you just remove the game and stop spending money if you don't see the potential? We're kind of moving towards that way of working. So you will see some games from us where there's no traction, but then the idea is that going through these ideas and bringing them to the soft launch, we will find some ideas that really work and that are really scalable, like Jewels of Rome and Sherlock.
There's a broad feeling that the sentiment in mobile gaming has come down overall. There's some indexes pointing down. Do you agree with that? Are we in a slow period overall?
In terms of the user demand or investor interest, certainly the second part. The first part also, you can see that first quarter, according to some data companies, is down year over year, and they think we're going to go through maybe 1 or 2 or 3 quarters of year over year decline in overall market. I think it's just the base, right? We're coming off of this increased attention to games. And so, the comparison base is rather high, and this whole pandemic situation kind of created a little bit of a distraction on the growth trajectory of games. But I think all the fundamentals are there, and mobile gaming and gaming overall is going to continue growing. But with a big reopening that's happening, it's everywhere in the news, and people traveling and so forth. I mean, they're going to take some time off their games probably, but then they're going to come back and will continue on the growth trajectory.
Very, very interesting. The sector is cheap. Are you looking at acquiring some other competitor? I want a short answer here because we're running out of time, sadly.
Maybe.
Good answer. We've been having some discussions about the ownership. Who is the biggest owner in G5 today?
As I've said, it's a company owned by the member of my family, and I would just say, I'm a public person, right? I've chosen this for myself. You can talk to me about the company, and I have to do that. But some other people, they prefer to stay private, and I think that's the case. We have to respect their privacy, because they don't speak on behalf of the company, and they are not the public person of the company. So I would have to leave it at that.